The piece begins with the stabbed child, and it begins with a policewoman, a sort of older woman, investigating what appears to be a kind of typical case of kids being violent to each other. As she scrapes below the surface, she realizes that there's this entire online world that these boys have been involved in, and there are all these other characters, and she can't find them, and she realizes that she has no access to this whole other thing that's happening very close to her. There's a lurid interest in what kids are up to when the doors are closed and when they're quiet, which is, in a strange sense, the sort of desired state of a child is he's upstairs working quietly. But what that could mean is, if you, especially digitally, it could mean getting in a whole mess of either trouble or completely expanding their horizons and learning Chinese on a website or something. There's a lot that can be going on.
Nico, the composer, who is fascinated, I think, and kind of obsessed by new technologies and communication, actually. I mean, he's one of the world's most prolific communicators. He, I think, has latched onto this story particularly because it's about communication. It's about how one person can pretend to be many and how another person can believe they're dealing with someone who they're not. So it's amazing to kind of get this insight into Nico's head, which is played out partly through the music, which is extraordinary, and also, interestingly, sometimes almost random. I mean, in the choruses, which for me are some of the most spectacular bits of orchestration, the words, which have been obviously put in by librettist Craig Lucas, are chosen almost at random, I think, from internet chat room searches, and some of them are incredibly pornographic and horrible and, quite alarming, and others are just totally innocuous and incomprehensible and, kind of text speak or internet speak. And so, especially in those choruses, you kind of get a sense of being inside the head of someone who almost sees the internet, almost sees those chat rooms in a kind of abstract map of interconnected people and computers and locations around the world. And in a sense, that's what we've been brought on board to realise. So what we're interested in doing is finding ways of representing that interconnectedness, the communications between many people, in ways that you wouldn't necessarily expect. We want to create a sense of almost infinite depth. And we're looking at ways of doing that combine with set, for example, as well as with video. So we use physical components to illustrate the interconnectedness of the story.
The reason I wanted to write this piece is because I am personally so excited about the enormous depth of information and systems of organization and images on the internet, and I thought that a story that uses that as a sort of medium would be, I think is the most necessary kind of opera, because it's as morally complicated as the great operas of history, but also it's incredibly contemporary, and it's something that is specific to, I think, my generation as someone who grew up both obviously in a physical space, but also definitely grew up online, and I think I hope that the sort of the passion with which I use technology or whatever, that all of that radiates out from the stage. I should hope, but we'll see.
One, 24,